Hello there. I don't like the phrase job creator, and I tweeted about that recently and have had a number of people working very hard to tell me that I am a job creator. They would like me to stop refusing to accept this complimentary phrase. It's a weird situation. I'm like, stop trying to make me look good. And they're like, stop trying to, I don't know, understand the world in your way, or virtue signal, or degrade the idea of a business person in this way when business people are extremely important. So I wanted to talk about this, and also I wanted to start off by saying, like, I think this is a perfectly legitimate argument to be having, and I don't think that anybody on any side of this conversation, when it comes to complicated things like economics and how to encourage entrepreneurship, I don't think anybody it has a perspective that makes me think that they're like a bad person or broken or something. But I do want to talk about my perspective on this, because I think have thought about it a lot since then, and also have thought about it a lot generally. So I will start out by saying that I do think entrepreneurship is something that people should aspire toward, and I think that starting a business and running a business is very hard and very rewarding. Sometimes it's not rewarding, sometimes it's hard and it's terrible, and I think that is one reason to respect people who do start small businesses, who start businesses that become medium-sized or large. I consider myself the owner of a medium-sized business because I have more than 50 employees, but I feel like that transition happens for different people in different places. Like, large business in general is usually seen as a business of like more than 1,000 employees, but I have a hard time calling my business a small business when I have so many folks working for me. I do want to encourage people generally, and also say that that a good business run well is a social good. It is a positive for the world. I wouldn't say that business, like, without any other modifier to that, I wouldn't say that necessarily that is a good thing. I think that would be like saying, like, a saw. Like, is a saw good or bad? No, it's not either. You can do good things with a saw, you can do bad things with a saw. Most people do good stuff with saws. They build things, but you could also destroy something with a saw. So it's a tool, and so I think that the tool itself is neutral. And we'll talk a little bit about that more later in the video. I think probably we'll end up coming back around to that idea. So, like, fundamentally, the reason I don't like the term job creator is because when you run a business, when you're an entrepreneur, when you are the CEO of a company, when you are a founder of a company, you are a lot of different things. And it feels a little bit like saying you're a job creator is like picking the best possible thing and taking that one for yourself. When honestly, like, it doesn't necessarily belong to you. Like that, like, yeah, I started a business. Yeah, I'm the chief executive of a business. Yes, I own a business. But, like, those are all objective truths. But, like, why pick out this one thing when it's fuzzier? Like, do I create jobs? So here's why it's fuzzy. It's fuzzy for two big reasons. One, because I don't hire people to have employees. I hire people to do work. And I've never, and I don't think any business person ever, has hired a person to create a job. You hire a person to do a work. And so you are a business owner, you're running a business. And like, to say, like, this is the label I would like to choose for myself, when ultimately that's not the goal of the activity of hiring. The goal of hiring is not to create a job. The goal of hiring is to create value for the company. We don't call people, like, value creators for their companies. We call them entrepreneurs. We have words for these things. And to pick out job creator when like, you receive a great deal of value in lots of different ways as a person running a company, especially one that is, in general, when we're talking about job creators, we're talking about successful companies that are hiring. So, like, you get a lot of value out of those companies And part of that value, I absolutely won't take this away because it's certainly true for me, is being able to be part of people's livelihood. Like, it feels really good to give back to the community, to contribute in a way where I see like the economic value of our company in this town, and also for individual people who I like. And I like giving them good jobs. I like giving them jobs that pay well. I like treating them well. Like, all that stuff's totally true. I don't hire anybody to create a job though. I hire people to get to like service the needs of the business and the needs of our audience slash clients slash customers, whatever it is. Like, calling myself a job creator, it sounds a little bit to me like saying that the fact that I started a business is in itself this implicit good. Like, it's almost an act of charity. Like, I am sacrificing myself so that jobs can exist. I'm sacrificing my time, I'm stressing out, all these things. And yeah, you do, as a business owner, especially like I think that most small business owners, medium-sized business owners, you stress a ton about having the weight of those people's livelihood on your shoulders. Like, that's a super scary thing. And when you do have to lay somebody off or fire someone, that's terrible. And it sucks. It's the worst part of business. And so I'm not saying that that's not a component of it, but the good feeling that I get from hiring people and from providing them with meaningful work is just one of the ways that I benefit from having a business. I don't feel like I need this extra label of like, and that in this sort of like, in this way that is completely separate from what the business might do. It's just any business that has grown and has done well, hired people, you are a job creator and you have this positive label you can apply to yourself, when sometimes like people who are creating jobs are creating bad jobs. They're creating manipulative relationships. They're creating bad products. Business is amoral. It is not immoral. It is amoral. It does not have a morality. And so it behooves us to apply our values to business. And if you say that, like, the phrase job creator to me kind of implies that any business is good because it creates jobs. And so business is itself a value, is itself a public good, and does not need to be regulated and does not need to have human values applied to it. And I just disagree with that in a deeply fundamental way, and have seen people who feel that way do bad things. And I've seen when we treat businesses that way, I don't like that. I don't like that. We've seen companies that have created a lot of high-paying good jobs, like on Wall Street, create a lot of destruction in this country. Like, it's happened. We watched it happen, and it hurt us for a long time. And those people were creating jobs, and so that kind of leads me to the second thing that I feel weird about when it comes to the phrase job creator, which is that I don't really know who creates a job. And I know that I hire people, but like ultimately it's a really complicated world. And so, yeah, we need people who are entrepreneurs. We need people who create businesses. But like saying job creator to me is such a simplification of what I do, and also the simplification of the way that jobs get created. An example, YouTube has lots of employees. Who creates those jobs at YouTube? Is it advertisers? Is it people who write algorithms for content discovery? Is it YouTubers? Is it Steve Chen and Chad Hurley, the founders of YouTube? Is it Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube? Is it the guys who run Google? Who is it? Like, who are the job creators there? I mean, I think that you can make the case for any of those things. You can kind of make the case that like the person who invented the transistor created the jobs at YouTube. You can make the case that the people who mine the metals that go into the hard drives that build the server farms that host the videos are the job creators. Like, all of it creates value. When I look at the history of my business, how my business operates, I absolutely know that I did not create all of these jobs. I hired Michael Gardner. He had definitely run things before, hired and fired before. And like, I hired him. I definitely created that job. But then like us working together from then on, it was like we were creating jobs together because I didn't know how to do any of this. Like my dad, his advice helped me. Like he was a job creator. And then now functionally at my company, people who work for SciShow, like somebody who writes great SciShow scripts, they get a lot of views. That allows us to have more money so that we can invest that in other things. And frankly, the people at the editorial team and the people on the content team at SciShow, the people who are editing the videos because they have ideas for new ways to spend that money. So in many cases, it's not even my ideas. It's the ideas that the people at the company are having. Like, yeah, I can tell them that they can or can't spend money. That's my job, me and Julie Walsh. Like, we can decide those things together, but like ultimately, like, we are taking their advice. They tell us when they need to expand. They tell us what, like they do, like check and see what our audience is interested in, wants to do, and all that work leads to the creation of jobs. And so when I say on Twitter that like we create jobs together at my company, that isn't some like froofy commie thing. That's functionally how I witness it operating, which is people make money for the company, then we decide how we're going to grow the company, and that decision has many different inputs from many different people who work for the company, and then we decide who and when to hire. So like I do believe that if you work for a company, you're a job creator. And so this is like a weird, like best possible word we can take and apply to somebody who frankly already is getting a lot of business benefits and also has a lot of nice labels that they already have attached to them. It's not like small business owner or entrepreneur or CEO. It's not like those phrases don't mean positive things. I think they mean positive things. I think there are certainly people out there who see negative in them, and I understand that there are people who don't believe that capitalism can function in non-destructive ways. I disagree with that. I think that capitalist enterprise can function in ways that aren't destructive. I think that it's a values neutral system. I, as a person who has a lot of experience in like evolutionary biology and so kind of sees the world through that lens, I see reflections of evolution in how capitalism works, and I see reflections of evolution in that like there are certain tools that until they evolved, evolution was much less efficient. And I think that there was always this evolution of human culture, but the creation of capital and the placement of that capital in private hands and the ability to move that capital around very easily, that has been a tool that has enabled greater and more rapid evolution of society, and that has increased the amount of value capture. It's increased the efficiency of how humans are able to capture value and make their lives better for themselves. And you can go and say that like coal-fired power plants are terrible, but in some ways those coal-fired power plants created the jobs at my company, because like without the last 70 years of reliable power in America, none of this would exist. So like they are bad, but they are good, and like they were good when they existed, and we do need to continue to progress beyond them when we see the negative impacts of things like that. I see that, and like I can see, we do have in capitalism a quantifiable way of measuring how much value is created. That's money, adjusting for inflation. And in the same way, you have that in ecology a little bit. Like if you know what NPP and GPP are, like terrestrial ecosystem ecologists in the house, then you can see like this reflection of like how certain ecosystems are better at converting sunlight basically into value for the ecosystem. And that's a fascinating parallel for me as a person who likes ecology and thinks about ecology and evolutionary biology a lot, but maybe not for you. I'd love to read a book about that if someone wants to write it, because I think that like, give me a book that's like business through the lens of evolutionary biology and terrestrial ecosystem ecology, and I'll be all over that one. I'll read the audiobook for you. Sorry, I have a bit of a cold right now. So these are the reasons why I feel like the phrase job creator is not great, because I think ultimately and I think that this comes down to a much larger discussion about collectivist success versus individualist success. And I know that a lot of people like see the collectivist perspective as being, maybe Marxist, maybe like, but like I don't think so personally. Like I am a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. I'm sorry if that like destroys your conception of who Hank Green is, but I also think that like we need to apply human values to business, and if we don't, then things go very badly, and we've seen those things go badly, and there are lots of businesses where we aren't applying human values to them. And I think part of applying human values to it is understanding that like where the value is created and where the value is extracted, and understanding where I sit on those in those inputs and outputs. Somebody's calling me on the phone, so I guess I'm done with the video. Where the frick is my phone?